the hair that changed my life. If I had known that one hairstyle would destroy everything I had, I would have shaved my head that day. I didn't know that day would mark the beginning of my pain. That day started like every normal Saturday. The sun was already hot by 8 a.m., and the neighborhood was full of generator noise and shouting traders. I had just received a small bonus from work after helping my boss close a deal. Not much, but enough to buy meat for soup and finally make my hair. You see, I hadn't made my hair in almost 2 months. My kids came first. School fees, food, rent, everything was squeezing me. But that morning I said, let me look beautiful again. Maybe small joy will come with it. People had been talking about this new hairdresser called Madame Amara. She's not like the others, they said. Her hands are sweet. Her hairstyles open doors. I believed them. When I entered her shop, it was like I had stepped into another world. The walls were painted peach and gold. There was jazz music playing low. Her mirrors were clean, and the floor had tiles, not like the rough cement ones in most salons. She had an air freshener in every corner. She offered me chilled malt and smiled. My sister, you are about to glow. She didn't even ask what style I wanted. She looked at me, held my head gently, and said, I know what you need. My body relaxed. She started combing. My scalp tingled, but it didn't hurt. As she braided, she hummed softly, almost like a lullaby. Her fingers moved fast, gentle, but firm. Then something strange happened. I started feeling dizzy, not too much, but like I was leaving my body for small seconds. My eyes were blinking too fast. I opened my mouth to say something, but she said, don't worry. This style is spiritual. It will change your story. That was the last peace I felt in my soul. When she was done, I looked into the mirror and almost screamed. I was fine. In fact, I was shocked. The braids were smooth and long. My skin even looked lighter. My face glowed. I took selfies immediately and posted one on WhatsApp. People started messaging, wow, who did this hair? You look like somebody's rich wife. I felt good. I paid her well and left the salon smiling like a girl in love. But by Monday, everything began to fall. The first thing was my customer, a rich woman from Ikoyi who usually buys clothes from me. She called to cancel an order worth 2 million naira. Just like that. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but she blocked me. That same week, my bank account was frozen because of a fraud case I knew nothing about. I cried and begged. Nothing worked. The following week, my first son was rushed to the hospital with a strange fever. No malaria, no typhoid, just weak and hot. My business slowed down. My generator stopped working. My landlord gave me quit notice. Then my husband, oh, that sweet man, started complaining of chest pain. We prayed. We fasted. We went to church. I paid profits. I gave sacrifices. Nothing changed. I was angry, confused, bitter. I began to look at everyone around me like enemies. I blamed my mother-in-law, said she was jealous of my marriage. I accused my siblings of envy, even my own mother. I told her she must have cursed me when I was young, but the truth was, I was dying inside. Then, as if all this wasn't enough, my husband collapsed one night and died before we reached the hospital. They said it was a heart attack, but I knew it was my curse that killed him. Now, it was just me and my 2 kids. I had moved to a small town to survive. I tied a scarf every day. I stopped doing makeup. My clothes were faded. I looked like someone older than my real age. I no longer laughed. I no longer hoped. Then came that afternoon. The sun was too hot, and I was walking down the street with only 200 naira bread in my hand. That was all I could afford after begging someone in church. No food, no rice, not even salt at home. I held the bread tight. Then I saw a man sitting by the roadside, dirty, old, ragged clothes. His hands were shaking. He looked up and said, "My daughter, please, can I have that bread?" I paused. Something in me wanted to slap him. I was tired, angry. I shouted, "What kind of bad luck is this again? You're asking me for the only bread I have left in this life?" He didn't answer. I turned and walked past him, but then something strange happened. I heard a voice in my head say, "What if this is your test?" I stopped. My chest felt heavy. I looked at the bread again. My kids were hungry, but something in me said, "Just give it." I turned back. I knelt in front of the man and gave him the bread. I couldn't even say anything. He took it, looked me in the eyes and smiled. Then he said something I will never forget. "You have broken the chain. Now I will tell you what held you down." My mouth opened. "What do you mean?" He said, "The day you made your hair 5 years ago, the woman who touched your head took more than money. She tied your glory to her own. Everything that happened to you since that day was because of her." My heart froze. I whispered, "Madam Amara?" He nodded slowly. When the old beggar said the words, I felt my legs shake. "The woman who made your hair tied your destiny." I was standing on the street, my slippers already worn out, the sun hot like fire, and my stomach empty. I had just given him the only food I had. I thought he would eat and bless me, but instead he stared deep into my eyes like someone who had been watching me for years. I wanted to run. "Sir," I said, "what did you just say?" He stood up slowly. He wasn't even that tall, but in that moment, he looked powerful, different. His voice changed, strong, deep, and clear. "That woman you trusted with your head took what belonged to you, your peace, your light, your glory. She locked it. She used it to rise while you fell." My mouth was open. I couldn't speak. I began to sweat, not from heat, but from fear. "Your hair," he said, "was your crown. She used it to exchange your star." Tears filled my eyes. Everything made sense now. The day I made my hair was the day everything turned upside down. That very day. And I kept blaming innocent people. My mother, my mother-in-law, my own blood brothers. I fell to my knees right there on the dusty roadside. Cars passed. People walked by. Nobody saw what I was seeing. "Who are you?" I asked him. He smiled again, slowly, and said, "I am not a beggar. I was sent to wait for you until the day your heart would choose mercy over anger." And then he added, "That bread saved you. You passed the test." I cried, "So what do I do now? How do I break this curse?" He pointed behind him, and I saw something I'll never forget. A small mirror was leaning on the wall of an abandoned kiosk, a broken mirror, half covered in dust. He picked it up and handed it to me. "Go home," he said. "Before you sleep tonight, look into this mirror. But first, wash your head with salt water." "Salt water?" I asked, confused. "Yes," he said. "Warm water, sea salt. Wash away what she left. Then look into this mirror and speak your name out loud." I was afraid, but I was also tired. Tired of pain, tired of being broke, tired of blaming everyone. He handed me the mirror, then bowed slightly and said, "You will not see me again, but I was here, and now you are free." And just like that, he walked away. I turned to call him again, but he was gone. I swear to you, gone, disappeared, no trace. I ran home, holding the mirror like a baby. My children were already asleep. They had cried themselves to sleep from hunger. My heart broke again. I heated some water, poured salt, and washed my head. I didn't care how foolish I looked. I was desperate. Then I sat down on the floor, alone, and held the mirror. My hands were shaking. I looked into the mirror, and for the first time in 5 years, I saw a different me. Not my face, not my tired eyes, but something else behind me, a shadow, a woman's figure standing behind me with red eyes and her hand raised over my head. I screamed. I dropped the mirror. It didn't break. I picked it up again. This time I said, "My name is Amaka, daughter of joy." The figure behind me vanished. I said it again. My name is Amaka, daughter of joy. And I swear to you, I felt something lift from my shoulders, like a chain had snapped, like air entered my lungs for the first time. I began to cry, but this time, they were tears of release. I slept well that night, no nightmares, no sweating, no voices, and for the first time in years, I saw my husband in my dream. He smiled and said, "You are free now. Take care of the children." When I woke up, the air felt different. My phone rang. Someone wanted to buy 3 dresses. Then another person paid back an old debt. By noon, I had enough money to buy food and new clothes for my kids. I didn't understand everything yet, but I knew one thing. That beggar was not ordinary, and that hairdresser, she had done something evil. Amaka returns to confront the hairdresser in a final twist. I thought I needed a refund. What I didn't know was that I was walking back to confront the person who buried my life with her own hands. You see, the thing about pain is, when the fog starts to clear, your anger becomes sharper. I cried, I had suffered, I had buried a husband, I had nearly lost my children, and for 5 long years, I walked around with a curse I didn't ask for, all because I wanted to look good. Now I knew the truth. The question was, what was I going to do about it? The next morning, I woke up early, boiled water, bathed my kids, fed them with fresh bread and akara, kissed their foreheads, and told the woman next door to help me watch them. Wore the plainest dress I owned and began to walk. The same street, the same path, back to the place where it all started, back to Madame Amara's salon. I hadn't been there in 5 years. I didn't even know if she was still around. But my feet walked with fire. When I got there, the signboard had changed. It no longer said Amara Touch Salon. Now it said Divine Glory Hair Palace. But the wall color was the same. The mirrors were still shining. The air still smelled like imported perfume. And sitting inside, on a high pink chair, with gold bangles on her wrist and a wide smile on her lips, was her, Madame Amara. She had not aged one bit. In fact, she looked even richer, even finer, even more powerful. She saw me. Her smile froze. She blinked as if trying to remember. Then she stood up, her voice sweet like honey. My sister, long time. Is that not Amaka? How are you? You've disappeared." I stepped forward slowly. I didn't sit. I didn't smile. I looked her in the eye and said calmly, "I want to ask you one question." She laughed nervously. "Of course, my dear. Anything. What did you do to my hair 5 years ago?" Her face twitched. She blinked fast. "What do you mean?" "You tied something into my head. My life went backward after you touched me. I lost my money. I lost my husband. I lost myself." Her smile dropped like a broken plate. "I don't understand. Why would you say something like that?" I pulled out the mirror. Yes, the same cracked mirror the beggar had given me. I held it up. "Look into it," I said. "If your hands are clean, you'll see nothing." She refused. She shook her head slowly. Her voice became sharp, defensive. "You're accusing me of witchcraft? Me? Because you're suffering? Do you know how many people I've helped? Do you know who I am?" "Yes," I said. "You are a thief of destinies. You wear perfume, but your spirit stinks." By now, her workers had stopped. One of them began to step back slowly. Another crossed herself and whispered a prayer. Amara started breathing fast. Then she shouted, "Leave my shop!" But I was not afraid. I took a step forward and raised the mirror again. "Look into it!" she screamed. Her voice broke the silence. She grabbed her head. Her eyes turned red. She fell to the floor and began to shake violently. "I didn't mean to!" she cried. I knelt beside her, eyes filled with fire. "You didn't just ruin my life. You killed my husband. You almost made me curse my own mother. You destroyed 5 years of my children's joy." She kept shaking, her wig half off, her gold bangles hitting the tiles. I took the mirror. I placed it on the floor beside her face. "Now look. See who you really are." She looked and screamed like a woman touched by fire. She rolled on the floor, foaming, weeping. I stood up and turned to leave. But just before I reached the door, I said, "I don't need revenge. I'm already free. But your hands, they will never touch another head again." And I walked out. Behind me, people started gathering. Some whispered, some filmed, some prayed loudly. But I didn't turn back. I had left that life behind. 1 week later, customers came like flood. My business came back like magic. My children began to smile again. I felt younger, lighter, free. One of my old customers gave me money to rent a shop. Another bought a freezer for me to start a small food business. And guess what? The old man, the beggar, I never saw him again. But every night, I prayed for him. Because sometimes, angels don't wear white. Sometimes, they wear rags and ask for your last bread. Thank you for watching up to this moment. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe to my channel, D Whispering Woods. Thank you, and God bless. See you in my next video. Thank you, and God bless.